Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome! Today's episode is number 453, 5 parenting strategies to help you not overreact, because how you react to any situation that arises in parenting will dictate how the rest of the family will handle it. One of the best parts of parenting is the journey you take with your kids. One moment you can be sitting at your kitchen table, mindlessly paying all the bills, and suddenly you look up, pen in hand, and witness your 12-month-old taking his first steps across the way in the family room. Parenting milestones such as this are invigorating, exciting, and leave you wanting more. And then there are those moments where your parenting journey goes south. Those sweet, rewarding experiences, such as your baby's first words or your 6-year-old learning to read, are quickly replaced with a mural of geometric designs all over the freshly painted walls, courtesy of your favorite tube of lipstick, or your newly licensed teen backing into the closed garage door. Sigh. Regardless of whether your family is experiencing a terrific high or a rock-bottom low, the one thing that can keep all of the emotions in your family on an even keel is how you, the parent, react. Here are 5 tips on how you can keep your emotions in check and not overreact when times get tough. 5 ways to prevent losing your cool with your kids. Number 1, pretend you have an audience. Number 2, speak positively about your kids in their presence. 3, ignore bad behaviors. 4, don't sweat the small stuff. And 5, if and when you do lose your cool, own it. We'll explore more each in detail. Tip number 1, pretend you have an audience. I usually have a pretty laid-back personality, so when I do get riled up, it's quite noticeable, and I still have plenty of moments with my kids where I want to throw my hands up and yell, "I surrender!" It's easy to overreact when your kids are goofing off, not helping out around the house after they've been asked several times, fighting with each other, or being disrespectful. But if someone you respect, like your child's teacher, your pediatrician, your coworker, or a really close friend, were to see you lose your cool with your kids, you'd probably be mortified and try to pull it together as quickly as possible. So why not get into the habit of pretending that you have an audience? You're less likely to overreact with your child if someone's there watching your every move. Tip number 2, speak positively about your kids in their presence. Often after a negative incident has taken place, we as parents want to discuss it with our spouse when he or she returns from work. If your child is in the vicinity, however, don't get into such a conversation until you're certain that your child can't overhear you. Discussing their behavior in a negative light while they're within earshot can reinforce the bad behavior, as well as damage your child's self-esteem. Once you've discussed a negative incident with your child, let it go and save further discussions about the incident privately. Not doing so could get you all hot and bothered, and you could end up overreacting twice over the same matter. Tip number 3, ignore bad behaviors. One of the first parenting books that I read was The Big Book of Parenting Solutions, 101 Answers to Your Everyday Challenges and Wildest Worries by Michelle Borba. I related to her tips because they were so practical and easy to apply. One of my favorites was how to deal with tantrums, whining, and annoying behaviors. Turns out, the longer you give attention to these behaviors, the longer they'll last. The trick is to ignore, ignore, ignore. It sounded much too simple to actually work, but when I focused on my kids' good behaviors and paid no attention to the less desirable ones, I was pleasantly surprised at how well the tactic worked. We can't always change how another person behaves, especially a young child, But we can change how we deal with these behaviors. And that has been one of the biggest stress reducers and ways to keep my own temper in check while raising my 8 kids. Tip number 4, don't sweat the small stuff. One of my favorite rules of parenting is don't sweat the small stuff. Having an immaculate home, unstained clothing, a car that isn't laden with crumbs and empty juice box cartons, and a kid who wants to wear unsightly combinations of stripes and plaids means absolutely nothing at the end of your parenting day. When you become a parent, your priorities totally change. Those inconsequential day-to-day mishaps are a part of life. Let it go. Spilled milk, muddy floors, broken furniture. These incidentals must be factored into the parenting equation and then let go as soon as possible. If you stop overreacting about these minor, unimportant things, if and when a real crisis does hit, you'll be much better equipped to deal with it. And tip number 5, if and when you do lose your cool, own it. If your anger has already boiled over and you've lost your cool, don't back away from it. Instead, simply own up to what you've done wrong. Don't give in to the temptation to blame your child for triggering your outburst. Say, I'm very disappointed by your sneaky behavior, but I shouldn't have yelled at you, and I am very sorry. The act of apologizing alone can be calming, and at the same time, you're being a good role model for your child. How do you prevent losing your cool and overreacting with your kids? Share your thoughts in the comments section at quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy or post your ideas on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page. You can also email me at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com. And I hope you'll visit my family-friendly boards at pinterest.com/mightymommyqdt. I hope you have a great week with your kids. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, happy parenting. Did you know that my show is part of a podcast network? Our weekly podcasts teach you all sorts of things, from how to revamp your diet, to how to build more resilience, to how to organize your messy inbox. Check out itunes.com/QDT or visit quickanddirtytips.com/podcast or just use your favorite podcast app.